Well, now I have the rear end of the this 1995 Crown Victoria raised up in the air, and got jack stands on the frame instead of on the axle housing. And that's for a good reason. I wanted to let the axle or rear suspension be in full rebound so that the axle is as low as possible. And that way when we get under here, we can have complete access to the axle. Otherwise you've got the fuel tank in the way and it'd be a lot harder to access all these bolts. So just like with the F250, the rear end on this is going to be, the fluid in here is going to be changed in the same fashion. We just want to remove all the bolts around the perimeter, and then we're going to take a screwdriver and pry the cover off and just work the cover off, being careful to not hit the sway bar or any other components under here. And it's interesting, this is a standard Ford 8.8 differential. It's not limited slip, but it looks like this has the undercoating on here under the frame and everything, which is really kind of nice, especially in this area here where it's really humid. You can see the condensation on the gas tank and everything, so that definitely makes a difference. But I'm just gonna go ahead and take a 1/2" wrench and get all these bolts under here off, and we'll see what the fluid looks like in here for the very first time after 11,000 miles. And one of the things you want to make sure before you start is, of course, you want to make sure that well, that light's going to be in the way, but you can't see. But you just want to make sure that you can get the fill plug off first. So let me go ahead and get that cover off, and we'll see what things look like for the first time. Well, I'm very happy to report that this differential cover plate is in excellent condition. Not a lot of sludge built up or debris or anything can be found, and that's to be expected with a car with only 11,200 or 300 miles. But I wanted to go ahead and change it anyway, because just like the transmission fluid yesterday, it's kind of an unknown. So it's good to see what you have and put nice fresh new fluid in there. The fluid in here, though it had low mileage, was 17 years old, so it's definitely good to take advantage of the newer technology. And I also have the fill plug out here, which is a lot cleaner than the one that was on the F250, of course, that had 155,000 miles. But still has a lot of debris on there that I want to go ahead and clean up and get that magnet working like it should. The orange stuff on here is Loctite, so that's why these are just a little bit hard to get off. Just takes a 3/8 inch drive and it comes right out, and you want to make sure you can get this out before you take off the cover plate, obviously, because you want to be able to fill it back up. So just a little bit of debris on there in the middle and some sludge around the circumference there, but not too bad. Overall, very happy. It's not going to take too much to get that cover plate all cleaned up and get that reinstalled. And now we'll head back under the car and see what's going on under there. I think I might have mentioned before, this is the Ford 8.8 axle, and it's in excellent condition. If I can try to, you can spin the wheel a little bit. See some of those spider gears. And they look to be in really good shape. If I can get a light on it. A little bit of wear there, but nothing out of the ordinary. Cover, all the insides, all the internals look very clean, especially up top. Not a lot of sludge there. You can even see some of the paint left down there from the factory. And this is a standard differential, unlike the F250, so there's no clutch packs back there. It's not limited slip. But overall, in very good shape. Not any scoring or spalling on the ring gears. And can't really see too good for the pinion gear, but in this particular angle, but everything looks to be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up this flange all around here with brake cleaner. Get all the old oil off of there and put some RTV on it and go ahead and stick the cover plate on. And unfortunately, it's going to take about 12 to 24 hours for that to dry before I can put the fluid in. That's the only bad part about this job. But it doesn't have to be drained too often, especially if you have or if you use synthetic oil. So let me go ahead and do that and be right back. Okay, now that the differential cover plate is all cleaned up and everything, I ran a continuous bead of RTV or silicone sealer all the way around the perimeter of it. And what you want to do is make sure you encircle all the bolt holes with the sealer as well too. So a gasket's not really needed as long as you have a good coating of this stuff. So now it's ready to go back on the car, and I'll show you that afterwards. Okay, now I got the axle all put back together and made sure I put the identification tag up there. This is a Ford 8.8 according to the tag with 2.73 gears in back, non-limited slip, semi-floating axle. And happy to report there are no leaks around the sealing flanges, and I got just the right amount of RTV oozing out around the bolt holes. That just lets me know that I've got good sealing behind there. So pretty happy about that. And I had to go ahead and fill it off camera because the didn't have a whole lot of time and the weather was appropriate for it. But basically it's the same thing I did on the F-150. We just have this hand pump, the same hand pump I used on the F-250. And you just run that into your gear oil, and then what you do is you take out that drain plug, which is just a 3/8 inch drive on the socket, or on the plug itself, and fill it up. Just enough until it starts to run out the bottom of the hole. Of course, making sure that the car is level on the ground. So that basically completes the rear axle job, and the reason I did that at this time, you can see a little bit of the sealer coming out around the edges there too, that blue line. The reason I did that is because the weather happened to be nice that particular day. It was around in the 70s, and it has to be fairly warm for the sealer to dry. This is a really cold start to today. This is about maybe a week later actually, and it's about 38 degrees outside, and that sealer would just never dry. So that's why I went ahead and took the opportunity to do that. Not that the axle really needed to be maintained or changed, but went ahead and took the opportunity anyway because I'm not really sure how much longer the good weather is going to last. So now what I want to do, I've actually put a lot of miles on it since then, since the transmission fluid change, and that's what it's got on it now, 11,579. And I'm very happy to report that the transmission fluid change that I did that same weekend, about a week ago, did the trick. I have not had any more torque converter shudder with this transmission at all. So after putting about maybe 100, 130, 140 miles on it, I'm convinced that that problem is now gone with the transmission fluid change and filter change. So that saved me a lot of money. So now what I want to do, now that the oil's changed in the engine, transmission fluid's changed, differential fluid's changed, I want to go ahead and change the fuel filter as well as the air filter. And to get to the air filter, it's actually one of the easiest things to do on this car. You've got two clips right here. They just lift up, and the box comes up off of this. You've got 3 tabs that hold it in, and then you can get to the air filter, which doesn't appear to be too dirty, but definitely needs to be changed for maximum fuel economy. And one of the things that you want to do once you get the filter out of there is look inside the air box and see if you see any debris in there. And if you do, you just blow it out with compressed air. And I'll do that next. It's actually one of the cleaner air boxes I've seen. Alright, let me get the lens turned around here so you can see what I'm doing. Then we'll take our new air filter. This is the high efficiency air filter. It's going to have much better filtration. And we'll just drop that into place, making sure that it fits in there evenly. We don't want the gasket surround to be pinched by the airbox components. Sometimes after sitting in the box for a while they kind of get a little bit warped, but this one looks good. And now what you want to do is make sure your 3 tabs are lined up in the back. Press it on down to make sure it goes in evenly. Put your retainer straps back on, and you're done. So that was the air filter job, all of about maybe a minute, minute and a half. That's finished. Here's a close-up of the old filter. Doesn't seem to have a brand on it. It may very well be the original Motorcraft filter, but I think Motorcraft filters have a black gasket surround. But it's actually not all that dirty. But good to change it out anyway. It's cheap insurance. And now to move on to the fuel filter. So the fuel filter on this car, on the Crown Vics, is on the driver's side, right in front of the left rear wheel. And it's sitting right there, just held in by aircraft clamp and 2 hoses. It's actually a pretty big filter. And before we take that filter out, this is a fuel injected car. We want to depressurize the fuel system, and there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can't see it on this side, but on the fuel rail, I think toward the front underneath the air cleaner box, there's a Schrader valve that you can drain the fuel that way. That kind of makes a little bit of a mess. Or you can disconnect your fuel pump relay with the engine running, and that's what I did there. So I've already done that on this car in preparation for it. But what you do is you just sort of lift up on this box, be nice to have a cameraman. I gotta kind of keep going back and forth, and push in on that tab there. See if I can do that real quick. And the relay box just slides off. And it's also labeled, so we want the second relay. And you basically just pull out that guy with the engine running. And in my particular case, that engine died almost instantly. I was kind of expecting the engine to be sucking up fuel all the way through for at least 20 or 30 seconds or so until it dies. But the fuel injectors actually need pressure to run, not just fuel, so the loss of pressure is what killed the engine. So that means that there's going to be some fuel still left in the line, so I've got to have a drain can over there to catch any remaining fuel there. But at least it's not going to be under a lot of pressure and get into your face and everything. And since I've got the air hose out here already, when you take these relays out, at least on these model cars, it's always a good idea to clean. Just blow out with compressed air underneath all these wires, and if that relay is taken out, blow the contacts out, as well as inside your box here. Make sure that's all clean as well too, because this relay controls the PCM, powertrain control module, then of course fuel pump, and that's a critical relay. If that gets any moisture in there or contamination, it'll shut your engine off. AC cutout relay is not too critical, but unless it's summertime. So anyway, let's get back over to the fuel filter. And how this thing comes off is you've got these duckbill clips that you've got to pull out. The line actually turns. It's not on there very tight, but it's got a good seal on it. And these duckbill clips come off, but it'll take to your hands. I've got to work a tool up in there to squeeze that out and pull it out. I like to see if I can reuse the same clips, but the new filter comes with new duckbill clips, and this one over here is the same way. Just stick a little screwdriver between here and pull out. At the same time you squeeze these tabs together, and that clip will just come right out. Then you just loosen up that clamp and it pops off. So I'll go ahead and get to work on that and see what we got. Okay, now that you've got the duckbill clips off, here's what they look like. One end has a barb on it, and you can just push in on that one end with a screwdriver, small screwdriver, and it just pops right back off. So these are reusable. A lot of people just rip them off, which you can do, but that tends to be a little bit hard on the other fitting over here, especially on these edges. So I try to get that off as gently as I can, and so far I've had good luck. But you want to get a catch can positioned right under the filter, and kind of keep your body offset so you're not directly under it, and you just give this line a twist, slowly back it off, and just let that drain into your can. So that was good. Not a whole lot of fuel came out of there. I was surprised because the engine shut off almost immediately. This is the output of the filter, so this is what's going to the injectors. And let's see if I can get repositioned and get the fuel tank side off. Might get more fuel coming out of here. I'm not really sure if I can get the camera focused. Here we go. Just twist and pull. Now we're almost off. Just go the remaining way. And you get a little bit of gas coming out, but not too bad. Just get a little bit of a shake because I want to get the remaining gas out of there so it's not hitting me when I go to get the filter off. And now what you want to do is just take a 5/8 socket. It's already loose. That's weird. And just undo your clamp like this. So that's all done. And now I got to put the camera down, and because this is going to take both hands, and we just go ahead and work that filter out of there. I'll show you that next. Now I got the original fuel filter all worked out of there. This does look like the original Motorcraft fuel filter from 1994-95. It's actually, the car is actually made in October '94. You can still see the little undercoating overspray on the filter surface. So this filter is 17 years old, but actually not in bad shape. Car does have just 11,000 miles on it. But I wanted to go ahead and change this anyway because at least when I did the oil change on the engine, he only put about 400 miles on the car in 1 year. That's almost basically not that much more than the range this thing has on a full tank of gas. So basically getting a tank of gas every year, once a year, means that gas was always fairly old. And I just want to take precautions and make sure that the filter hasn't suffered any damage. It's really cheap insurance. These things go bad just over age. The resins inside the filter media sometimes break down and you get little fissures in there, and the filter doesn't tend to filter as good anymore. And it's not that hard of a job to do. And it could save you a lot of money down the road when you go to either replace the injectors or clean them. The injectors on this car are not that hard to get to, and they do have little screens on the inputs, and you can buy seal kits, little O-rings that go on the top and on the bottom, but it's still a pretty major job, and you just don't want to have to do that if you don't have to. New filter is not expensive at all, and the Motorcraft filters, the Ford filters, are actually very generously sized, so they have a lot of dirt holding ability. So I got a new filter from Napa, which is actually made by Wix, and it comes in a sealed bag so we don't get any contamination getting in there. It's really, really important for those injectors. It doesn't take very much contamination at all to cause problems. And one thing you want to really pay attention to is the flow direction. So that means that this filter is going to go in like that, with the this nipple here going to the fuel tank and that nipple there going to the injectors. And then you've got new duckbill clips if you really need them. I'm just going to reuse the same ones. And so now that we've double checked that our fuel flow direction is proper, we just go ahead and work it up in there. You've got to keep your hoses out of the way a little bit, but there we go. Just kind of sits into that frame right there. Make sure you get over the edge of this flange, and it's held in there pretty good. And then I'll go ahead and tighten it down and be right back. Okay, now I got the filter all in there nice and tight. I inspected the inside of these connectors, and I did see a little debris around that outer seal. So I went ahead and took a Q-tip and went around the edge of that seal, and you can see some of the gunk I collected. So that's all cleaned up. And I did the same thing for the other connector as well. So this is the fuel tank supply side. This just fits right on here like that. Should go on fairly easy. Just give it a quick twist just to make sure it's not bound up. And then the same thing for the fuel injector side. Okay, now we just take our duckbill clips and they just slip right on. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. On your back. Alright, here we go. Just snaps on like that until you see the edges pop out with the point of the clip going this way, facing rearward. And so now that connection cannot back off. And then we do the same thing on the front side. Clip faces this direction. Just like that. It won't back off. And that basically is all there is to changing the fuel filter on these Fords. I'm gonna just wipe everything down real quick. I want to get these connections good and dry because I want to check for leaks next when I go to repressurize the fuel system. Fuel should evaporate pretty quickly anyway, but just want to kind of help it along. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now we've ended up doing a lot of work on this car. Changed the fuel filter and air filter, engine oil and filter, transmission fluid and filter, and differential. Trying to take advantage of the fairly warm weather. Now the fuel system, of course, is completely depressurized. I've got the fuel pump relay and the relay center all put back together like it should be. And we'll go ahead and see if we can pressurize it and get the engine going. And then check for leaks. Now the fuel pump will run while you're cranking, but to reduce the stress on the starter motor, what you can do is cycle the key on and off. And you can't hear the fuel pump, but the fuel pump will run for about 2 seconds and then shut off. And so we just keep doing that a few times. Okay, I'm going to try to crank it over. It'll probably take a little bit longer to start now while the fuel pressure still continues to build, but we'll see how much luck we get. That wasn't too bad at all. I've had these cars get worse than that. Engine's running nice and smooth. Still got the ass end of it up in the air, but now I want to check for leaks. And so far so good. I don't really see any leaks. Leaking gasoline is really not something you want to have. I'm even giving them a little bit of a twist as a worst case scenario for road bumps and stuff like that, but bone dry. That's really good. Everything's nice and dry. And that was one of the easiest cold starts I've had after a fuel filter replacement that I can remember in a long time. But I'm glad to get that out of there. We got some new parts in here. So pretty much with this car, the only thing left to do is the brake fluid flush and the cooling system over there. It's getting kind of old, but everything else has pretty much been done. And I don't know what kind of quality of gas that my grandfather used when he had the car, but I want to make sure that I use what they call top tier gas. And if you want to know more about that, you can go to toptiergas.com. Basically, it's a consortium of some of the major oil companies that recommend, or they make sure that the fuel that you get has the right number and quality and quantity of additives to make sure that the entire fuel system is kept clean. Exxon is one of those companies, and I think Chevron or Shell might be another company. But I use the top tier fuel in all the cars. The Citgo and the Walgreens, or the Wawa that we have around here. The quality of the gasoline there is questionable. So I want to make sure in this vehicle, and basically all the vehicles, I use the highest quality fuel that I can. So now to button it up and get it off the jack stands and take it for a drive and see how she does. Hopefully this video will help you guys. You can do a few of these maintenance tasks yourself, and you saw how quick and easy the air filter was, and fuel filter job is only about maybe 10 or 15, 20 minutes right there, and fuel filter is about $12, so not bad at all. So I hope this video helps you guys out.